bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
And welcome back to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. My guest this segment is Ted Lieu, member of the State Assembly from Torrance. Thanks for being back with us.
Thank you.
Last time you were with us, we talked a little bit about foreclosure legislation that you authored. We're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to segue first to another issue dealing with home ownership. And you know, we see ads all the time on radio and television. If you can't meet your mortgage, or property tax, come and call us and we'll give you some help. You think that's totally unnecessary, isn't it? Well,
unfortunately, in a down economy, what we're seeing is a rise in financial fraud. And one of these scams is when people send you a very official-looking letter that says, hey, pay us $100 or a few hundred or even $1,000 and we'll lower your property taxes. There's no reason to do that because your local tax assessor does that for free. So I have a bill, AB 992, that bans a collection of upfront fees for these companies. It also requires a written authorization of the property owner before they can do such a request because there is no reason to pay anyone any money to lower your property taxes.
And we've seen these types of scams before where the letter is so official looking, it looks like it came from the county assessor.
Correct, and that's the problem because people are duped. Some of them are desperate and they pay this money and they get no results. Worse yet, they could just contact the local assessor and get the same thing done for free.
Now, assessors normally go through the reassessing process.
Correct.
But they will also do it on request?
Depending on their assessor, that's correct. Okay. But you get absolutely no advantage for going through a third party to do this for you.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about this other piece of legislation, which we talked about before and is now out and signed by the governor, dealing with a moratorium on foreclosures, which is pretty interesting. I mean, California, the Central Valley especially, as you know, has led the nation in foreclosures. It started really in Stockton, and if you go through Stockton and Modesto and Merced, up and down the valley, this is the worst area in the country.
It still is, and California is ground zero for home foreclosures. We're getting about 80 to 90,000 foreclosure filings every month. That's about 1 every 30 seconds. Until we slow that down, our economic recovery is going to be hampered. So what the bill does is it says to a bank or lender, you have to run a comprehensive loan modification program designed to keep people in their homes, the way that Countrywide is doing, the way that IndyMac Bank is doing. Or if you choose not to do that, we're going to put a 90-day foreclosure moratorium on your home loans. So if you're watching this program, the easiest thing to do is contact your lender because they should have in place a program designed to help keep people from going into foreclosures.
It almost seems counterintuitive. Lenders should want to work with the homeowner anyway to keep them in the homes, but quite often they don't.
You would think, but having worked on this for over 2 years, I came to realization that lenders are not doing this, and they're certainly not doing it at their speed or the capacity in which they should. And this is all following the theory that a modified home loan is worth more to society than a foreclosed loan. Because if you think about the foreclosure, it's probably one of the most worst mechanisms that humankind's ever designed, because for every foreclosure, lender loses about half the loan value, family gets dislocated, all sorts of fees are paid, then the home floods the market, destabilizes the real estate market, and then it becomes a public safety problem because they become vacant and they become blight.
Right. And that's really the problem that we're seeing in so many cities in California right now.
That's correct, especially as you know in the Central Valley where you have entire neighborhoods being wiped out because of the foreclosure crisis.
So if someone is on the verge of foreclosure watching this program, first thing this person should do is what?
They should contact the lender, or they can contact a nonprofit counselor. And there's a lot of nonprofit counseling agencies out there that would also assist them with their foreclosure process.
Mm-hmm. We only have a few seconds left, but don't you have some other foreclosure legislation that's moving?
Yes, we have, on a going forward basis, I have a bill that looks at the worst practices during subprime mortgage crisis and bans those practices, such as steering, where a broker or a bank would put you into a higher interest rate, riskier loan, even though you had qualified for lower interest rate, stable loan.
All right. Well, we'll have to have you back, talk about the progress of that legislation and some of the other things you're working on. But Ted Lieu, thanks for coming by and talking to us.
Thank you.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. We'll see you next time.